Hello to all, and again, sorry that you have to speak in English. My Czech is, very bad. Initially, Wojtek invited me to talk about something, and then he allows me to, let's talk about the management. And a few days ago, I learned that we have only 25 minutes. So 20 years in 25 minutes. Okay, we can try. Okay, first, usually a lot of the conference, especially nowadays, are talking about the AI. So I always beginning with the slide, what do I think about the AI? And this is also a short request in your direction. Like you will spend the whole day on the conference, you will get familiar with the, with the abstracts, with the titles. For me, this is kind of, bullshit detector because as we agree, all skeptics, very critical thinking people. So as a tester, at the first, I was afraid that, okay, AI will replace us. But then AI with us, and I observed the conference. And usually on the conference, if this nice title, definitely not figured out by the technical person, we have very nice terms like realms, like 2 decades of journey, blah, blah, blah. So eventually I find a podcast when one lady talking about, she tried to write a book by ChatGPT. And whatever prompting she used, always they come back to some kind of, syntax they are using. So if you during this day will notice that this is not this abstract or title written by the engineer, but some kind of, literature person, that probably this is something like generated, so your bullshit detector will rise. And the title of my own talk is also Lesson from the Trenches. So it's kind of related. So again, a little bit about me. So again, I've been in many roles, so we can pick up whatever. In this year, I have the opportunity to talk with a lot of communities. So also, I hope that some of you will talk with me after the talk, because I'm really interested how the Czech community look like. What it's your challenges, problems, what do you think about the actual what is happening? But to the topic is something that I should talk about the management, and I start thinking about the challenge that Wojtek gave to me, and it looks like I have really unique opportunities because currently I'm supporting 3, but here we'll let's say 2 organizations. So one is a big corporation starting for A, and the second one is startup. So it's totally different ecosystems, a little bit different teams, and there's a great opportunity to see how the both ecosystem work in different work on their product, but how the work looks every day, how the challenges they have, what is the how the everyday looks like, maybe in that short way. Okay, so again, how to talk in 20 minutes in 20 years in 20 minutes? Well, it's easy. From engineering point of view, 10 minutes is 10 minutes, 10 years in 10 minutes, 5 years, blah, blah, blah. Easy. So I don't know whether it's in Czech like how to eat the elephant, but probably you all know that, cut off slices. Connecting to my previous talk, we need to cut our job to slices to digest it very well. Okay, what I learned. So I'm typical big picture person, and I cannot imagine to work with the good understanding and where am I, what is my role, what is happening in the project. So for me, the biggest always challenge is to good understanding of our process life cycle. So I know that probably all of you know the V model. This is the basics. If you're already certified, that you probably already have to know. But whatever mixture we figure out about this, if we look on the model like activities, there's always will be the same activities. So we can we can play with skip some some sections. We can mix some sections. But still about the activities, it will be always the same. It will be in the cascade model, in the interactive model. So from my perspective, it's very important to understand where you are with your project. who is the target of your project, for who you developing, what kind of problem it's supposed to solve. Everything it allows you to understand where you are and where to put a more focus in your everyday job. Of course, natural enemies. So probably there's a lot of testers. So the first bullet is for you obvious. Developers and the testers are not too much friends. Yeah, it was 20 years ago, 15, 10 years ago, there was Agile. We will come back to this. What is funny to me, especially I see this from the startup perspective, the DevOps and the backend developers are also not friends. And what is fun, the UX and the front-end developers also not as friends. So let's imagine that we are the one team. We should, push in the one direction to solve someone's problems, usually not our problem. So problem that probably we don't understand. And we have so many interactions. And not of them are, very user-friendly. So as I mentioned, one of the solutions a few years ago was let's stop talking that we are the person. Let's start talking about the roles. Let's build the whole team. We are in the single team. By the way, you know who is the tester here? Hulk. Because Hulk is Smash. So yeah, this is also my favorite stuff. So in the Hollywood movie, it looks really great. But this was the first episode. And the next episode, so few sprints later, few delivers later, yeah, we are only human. So I don't know how many Avenger fans we have, but eventually there was big battle against them each other. So someone sent something that the other didn't understand, blah blah blah. Typically our project situation, and we end like this. So yes, from my point of view, and comparing all my career, all the organization I used to work, the communication is everything. It's like those, 5 stones, blah, 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 something. So, and this is my kind of definition, what I mean the good communication is. So, open, not judgment communication. We can say inclusive to be more trendy, of course, but understand what I'm thinking about. Instant feedback, not waiting for retro, but if anything is happening and we see this is happening, we should approach to each other and talk what is happening. Probably there is some kind of problem, and the whole team looking in the one direction. It doesn't matter whether you're using Kanban board or whether you're using any other picture, plot, whatever, that it's showing the progress of your project. But it's important the whole team should, following one perspective. And again, probably you heard this many times. But really, from my whole career, this is the most important thing. When I see in my whole experience, there was very few organizations that reach this level of communication. So at first, when you join this organization, it looks kind of strange. Like, okay, they talk to each other. There's instant feedback. Someone got feedback after one day of being delay something. What is happening in this organization? But what I learned, it was the best way. Not wait till 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever methodology you're using, but instant stuff. Because sometimes it's a matter of someone is blocked. And just putting his task in the blocked Kanban and focusing whole team that see that one task stay there longer than 1 day in the blocking states means that we have some kind of alert. And this is the good situation to react. So yeah, the communication. Yeah, but communication is internal, but outside our business would like to speed and push us to be quicker, deliver. So, of course, important is still remember about verification, validation stuff. We can play with our methodology. We can go shift left, and test early and fix the defects, cheaper, or be more friendly with the operational and deliver something with risky but have the good fault density, fault resistance, or quick recovery. This is something that definitely help us, but this is not this is solution. This is the way how to, from my perspective, how to buy a little bit time, but you don't need to believe in this like in the yet another religion. It's a way how to how to deal with the project, but the basic one, the communication one, or the real everyday job is more important from my perspective. But when we're talking about the DevOps, so there is, I don't know whether, do you know Dora stuff? This is something that I learned a few years ago, and it surprised me because it was then DevOps was hot topic, and there was question how to value your organization, whether you're a quick deliver organization or slow, and it looks like just 4 questions, as simple as this, that you can scan this and do a quick test, and you will see what kind of, how quick organization you are. And this is very not difficult to answer. And every year, this new report for 2024, it's already published. And surprise, surprise, what is the outcome of this? Culture is the paramount of the success. So again, we can call it culture, we can call it communication, you can call it whatever, just what you wish. But this is still the most, I don't know, this is not so sexy like AI will solve all of your stuff, but this is something that is really do matter. What else this year Dora brings to us? The advice like run experiment with your own organization or survey, share what you learn. I won't ask to raise a hand, but think yourself when you last time have enough time in your job just to think about new experiment, just to try something which is not like, in the backlog or new feature or new defect, stuff like this. Whether in your organization you have time for that kind of exercise. In my organization, this is not very common. In fact, if I'm doing an exercise like this, I'm doing silently without informing my managers, because there will be a lot of discussion why blah blah blah. But this is really shows that, and the Dora report proof, this is the critical thing if we're thinking about developed organization. And if you don't believe in Dora, if you look on the different models, you can look, for example, on the TMMI. TMMI model is more structured, and this is also whatever model you look. The very beginning of this model is kind of internal survey and collecting the feedback from the team. How do you feel? How do you perform? Whether you try to do something different. What is also interesting from Dora, and to me as a skeptic of AI trend, was that Dora started to recognize that using AI is reduction of the software delivery performance. So even that at the very beginning, we using LLMs, so our AI, ChatGPT, Llama, whatever system you're using. And even at the very beginning, you think, okay, it will be nice. I don't need to spend so much time on generating documentation, test report, blah, blah, blah. It will be just one click. For organization across the world, even that they start using this, after 1 year, we can say year and year or something, they start to recognize that kind of reduction of the performance. So we trust a little bit less in the quality of the code that was generated by those LLMs. We trust a little bit less with the reports that being written by not the person, but the chatbot. And we start to challenging ourselves, whether this is, good, not good. And our bullshit detector from the first slide, we start thinking that we see we reading something that we already read some time ago, because the same phrases, the same stuff, only changing a little bit the digits. So this is really interesting. This is something that I was looking for when I preparing the slides. I was afraid of this. When I preparing the slides, I didn't know that there are already find it, but this is something that if you're thinking whether AI replaces us, no, it's not going to replace. And we start to have the proofs collected from the market. So again, communication, and again, communication in the startup is much easier because we have flat organization. In the corporation, we all know that it's not easy. One of the ideas that the really good, healthy organization show me is that they're using Kanban board, but whatever board you're using, and since we're talking about some kind of idea and changing something, they start to introducing new columns. This is very basic perspective, but they start to introducing column like for example backlog, whether it's sprint backlog, product backlog, waiting for backlog requirement, or testing. Is it still waiting for testing? This is in progress of testing. Is it block already from testing, or tested and waiting for delivery? So they start adding columns, and after 2-3 cycles on the retro, they make decision. Okay, whether there is column staying, it's really show something, or we need to replace this column. And this was really nice way how to adjust the one perspective, one board that they follow versus to their organization, their understanding what they really did. And they end up with, I don't know, 6 or 7 columns, which was there. And this was the best, what this team achieved. And this is very useful. Other stuff, time is running, so yeah, this is my typical situation. Currently, we have a discussion with the developers, whether half-delivered stuff is done or not done. I don't know whether you have that kind of situation, but for that kind of problems, from my perspective, it's good to a little bit make handover more official. So we introduce some kind of checklist, and there is kind of short call between the developer and the tester, and this is handover, and the tester needs to agree. Okay, according to my short call, 5-minute call, and the checklist that we go through, it looks that feature is ready for testing, okay, and taking my responsibility for this testing. If not, then it's coming back to the testers, to the developers. Of course, developers are not happy about this. What we're trying to do. This is probably already know, the geographic differences, time zones. It always surprised me, like, for example, Israel is Sunday is working, and Friday is it's free. Or, for example, when we come back after Christmas Eve, the Chinese preparing for their own. So now try to be a project manager and plan something. It's really interesting. So this is the after COVID and globalization, what we got. Automation. Probably you heard about the BDD. Honestly, by 20 years, I never seen any single organization that really introduced BDD in the right way, how they're supposed to do. Usually this is the solution end up like testers writing, Gherkin for their own, because they have framework, and using this framework for the testing. In the one organization, I have situation like it was the whole team, but not the business and not the business analyst or product owner, but the whole team. So let's say a little bit better, but I never seen situation like this real workshop with the customer, and the outcome of this workshop is a kind of, sentence. It doesn't have to be the Gherkin, but whatever, sentence short, which will be taken by the, kind of framework and can be run automatically. So this is fun because the concept is really good. And if you look from the, university perspective on the whiteboard, it looks really nice. But the practicality, it's like, this is always a problem. But I still believe that someday, maybe in my organization, it will be well implemented. Again, how much time we have? 5 minutes, okay. So about the question, I will be after, so definitely won't have enough time to ask question. Automation. So I have a lot of, cases like whether you implemented, how a framework, how to do with automation. So usually we can, go into two directions, into two models that I have experience. So one was that local team done, and the second one, external team done those automation. Yeah, this will be later. So for because you're engineers, and usually engineers very focused with the technology, with the good solution, good ideas, but in the same time you're very bad with the doing marketing and selling your product. And from my experience, you have the best framework idea that you can develop in-house. You need to sell those, not to your colleagues, you're in an organization, but you have to sell this to your management. And this is one of the examples that I used to have, that we here in Poland that prepared some kind of framework. It was, perfect framework, ready to use, implement. And we lost because our manager from United States made decision, okay, on the Excel, I have 10 people in the India and they will do framework. And our framework with the, ready BDD stuff, with all the, drivers, simply fail with the Dockerized Jenkins. That's it. And they call it automation framework. So this is lesson learned from me about the big organizations and introducing automation. So always remember that someone needs to, speak up in your name and sell this, your solution. And your nearest team know that this is the best solution. This is really good. But you have to, do more to be implemented. Okay, talking about the big versus small organizations. So, of course, big organization, we have the overhead in the communication. That's why I experimented with doing, silently, for example. And there's a lot of rules. So for the beginners, it's a right, clean, path, how to go into the organization, development path, from the junior, how to be mid, because everything is defined. It's clear situation. Standards, global office, so we can migrate, and access to the systems that usually on the startup you can forget about this. For example, from IBM, I have access to mainframe, and probably none of the startup will have opportunity to play with that kind of system. Versus this, in a small organization, if you are brave enough, you can start with a small organization, but because then you can be hero. Because usually, probably there will be not many or very few people that, that are expert is everyone. So you need to figure out how to solve a lot of your problem by your own. And this is something that in my situation was the best in the beginning of my career. Because I'm not depends like, okay, I have problem, I create the ticket, someone solve it. No, in my case, it was, okay, I have problem, this is my problem, I need to solve it. Of course, in that moment, it was endless night and, a lot of anger, like, why is that working? But after, perspective of a few years, definitely it helped me, to understand the system better, because I need to dive outside of the, quality assurance perspective. I need to go in the engineering. I need to understand how every layer is working. So it was more painful, but eventually in the years, it's, from my perspective, much better. Shorter decision. Sometimes this is something that might be really good, because on the startup, we're still trying to, to find our first, second customer. So there's a lot of contact with business, and the knowledge about what the problem we're really trying to solve. It's really one step to the R&D team. When you look on the, corporation, usually delivering some kind of software which solves some kind of problem, but how it's being used on production, who is being used, who is installing, who is maintaining. Usually there's a lot of layers, and the definition of unknown it's very, very big. In the, startups, this is, on the one step, near to you. So, yeah, but this is also risk, because if they, on the startup, there will be decision, okay, we believe in this customer and we do every software for this customer, and eventually after a few years, customer can make decision, we have different vendor, then we have a big problem. So there's a lot of risk as well. Come on. Okay, whether you're big or small, 1 minute. Okay, maybe a minute. Whether you're big and small, the trends always hit you, like AI. It's gonna hit you, and again, experiment. You can experiment. You need to find your own way to experiment in your organization, but I highly recommend to do it. Key takeaways, bullet points, as you mentioned. So, okay, understand big picture where you are. Team building, whatever you do. I don't know whether you need to fight together with the swords, or whether you go to camp together, or whether you just need to drink together. Do whatever is needed to have good communication, because this is the basic. And the technicals and the pattern over the tools. So don't focus on the tools, but rather think how everything is working and try to understand how it's working. Again, dziękuję za pozdronost. Sorry.